Alright, guys, so today we're going to start off with something a little bit different. We're going to address the show with some news first, and then we'll get into the intro, and then we'll just break into the main show. So that's the only time I'm going to describe it like that, but yeah. So, some interesting news. I didn't know that Martin Vittori was fighting. He'll be returning to UFC versus Roman Dolid. Sorry about the name. Um, Martin is sitting as the favorite at minus 225 right now. But Roman is known as a strong grappler with a decent stopping power. He had 3 fights in 2022, I believe, and they all ended in stoppage. So, I mean, at least that's there. You're gonna need that against somebody like Martin. He's definitely a tough dude. I don't know if you're gonna be able to stop him, but hey, you're at least gonna be able to go up against him. Something interesting I noticed is that he has fought at higher weight classes, so that knockout power probably does come from that kind of shift. I think that makes a big difference in like what a fighter will end up succeeding at if they have come down, or like if they come down from a higher weight, they're gonna end up having an easier time knocking people out. Whereas the people who are naturally just a bit like natural to their weight aren't gonna hit dudes who are friggin' like naturally 50 pounds over and have the same energy. So that's definitely going to be something we talk about again later in the show, but we'll move on from that. So Jones versus Stipe has been kind of like obviously become a big part of the division, um, or a big part of the next big fight of the division. It seems as though it's kind of booked in a way. I don't know how that could be possible, but DraftKings already has the lineup, so we're gonna take a look at that later on. It looks like they have it scheduled out for December, but that should just be some type of like to be determined type date. I think it's gonna be between middle and late 2023, but I would probably bet on later just because of where these two fighters are at in their career and their tendencies. But they both have had like breaks, so I guess nothing to really be too worried about. But yeah, so we're gonna do a little update about Tough before we get started. So Chandler mentioned that Connor wanted to fight at 185 in a video. I don't know how true that is, if he's just doing it as like a thing to talk shit about how big he is now, or what is going on, but I think that's kind of like, I just don't like that if that is true. I don't think it's a smart move for Connor, and I think that at the end of the day, like, he would never succeed at 185, so what's even the point? Like, what is he doing fighting this one dude who's not a natural 185, who he already has somewhat of an advantage fighting? Like, what is he gaining out of making him change his weight class even more? Outside of obviously more advantage. I just, it kind of bothers me that he made that his thing, but whatever. I also am hyped to see the fight, so who cares? Like, whatever weight they fight at, I'm gonna be watching it. Connor is no longer the favorite. They're both sitting at the same odds. I thought that was kind of an interesting move in the line. I think when I looked at it, Connor was the favorite and Chandler was sitting as the underdog by a bit. But I think that as the fight comes closer and things start coming out about Connor again and he starts getting into the press more and more, I have a feeling that, it's not going to look that great. And inevitably that will lead to people putting more money on Michael Chandler just based on what happens before a fight. If you look like a person who's uninterested or doesn't care, obviously people aren't going to trust that you are going to go out there and perform, especially against a dude who get like Michael Chandler. He's just so motivated and so ready for anybody. Alright, guys, so I wanted to say thank you so much for listening to JakeUp
at Night.
And I hope that, you guys enjoy the rest of the episode. Alright. So, we're gonna hop into a little bit of a talk about the Celtics. I'm a little bit scared about where the Celtics are at right now. I think that something that people are maybe not taking into account in Boston, specifically because we have a tendency to lean towards such young stars well, that was such a stupid way to put it. Really, we have really young stars, so it's easy to put boatloads of time onto them, and we've been doing it for the beginning of their careers. But where is that going to go towards the middle to ends of their careers? And even now, is it really the best thing to do in the later end of the regular season to secure a high playoff seed, when at the end of the day, if those guys can't perform in those playoffs, will it be worth it? I think we're all hopeful that the Celtics can pull it out of the dirt this year with being able to put in that time and effort, every game, and then also go into the playoffs and the championship and then do it again. I mean that's what, people used to do back in the day, but it's not the NBA today. And, I think expecting these guys to do it against guys who are not doing it is also one of the big issues right now. Is a lot of the people they're going against are gonna be resting. They're gonna be getting ready for the playoffs. It's just something that the Celtics need to consider a high priority. Is what level of strain do you want to put on your best players, even on your key players that are on the bench that help this team be as good as they are when they're succeeding? I mean, you look at Grant Williams, you look at other people, they're obviously at a point where, you don't got to rest those guys, obviously, but, they're at a point where they're on the downturn and it's just a little bit of a scary situation in TD. So the best way to look at it would be, hey, the main guys are going to get minutes. We'll get you guys out there. We'll be able to kind of take advantage of this end of season and hopefully, the games that are especially lighter, we can, take this time to lighten the load. I mean, look at they're playing the Trailblazers tonight, and I think they're doing extremely okay against them. I don't think they're necessarily. Oh man. Woo. On stream, my boy just sent me this Pokemon. This is a good one. This is a good one. He's got the oh man. I don't know if it'll be able to show it. There we go. The shiny ho. Oh man. I'm gonna text him. Just showed that on stream. Now you know I'm gonna be chasing one of those. Woo! Woo! That's nice. That's nice. But we'll get back to what we were talking about before. The Celtics really just have to. Oh, I wanted to look up the score. That's what I was doing. Yep, Celtics, Trailblazers. Celtics won by 22. I think they just need to, take advantage of the opportunities to clear games like this, because at the end of the day, seeding will be irrelevant if these guys are not playing at the top of their line by the end of this season. Or in the postseason. So there is So the next thing I want to get into is who we think is going to be the MVP. I mean, and then the discussion around that. So it's obviously gotten pretty heated recently, especially with the JJ Redick shit and Kendrick Perkins getting into it. So I think the discussion, and I've had this discussion a bit before on the podcast, but I think now is a good time to get back into it a little bit. Is just that what we do when we fail to recognize the right amount of greatness when it is happening, or to distribute the greatness, is, and this is something that the NBA I think has realized in the past and has accepted and done things to I'll explain it and it'll make more sense. So the players of Nikola Jokic, that level is such a high caliber, and they can perform at that high of a caliber for so long that it almost doesn't make sense to give them a trophy if they're neck and neck, hand in hand with somebody like Joel Embiid, especially when sometimes these players play against each other, and it's hard to show, or it's hard to say that, Joel Embiid can pull up, dominate Nikola Jokic, and then, it means nothing. Oh, it's just, one game in an entire season, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's one important game where two guys who are fighting for MVP go up against each other, and the one who is, especially when they're playing the same position, the one who is maybe lacking in certain stats or availability is able to dominate, shows a lot about who he is. I think that over the last 2 seasons there have been points where Joel, specifically I believe it was specifically last year, where Joel Embiid had a great case for winning, whether it was last year or this year. We don't know how many seasons Joel Embiid will be able to put up this immaculate numbers, just like Nikola Jokic, and we should recognize his greatness because, LeBron could have won multiple MVPs in a row. Kobe could have won multiple MVPs in a row. Jordan could have won more MVPs, but they didn't. And you know why? Because other people deserve the opportunity to have their greatness recognized, even though they happen to be born into the generation of said GOAT. It's like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna, sit here and say that the NBA is racist because they keep recognizing Nikola Jokic, even though he puts up triple-double averages for a center and, fucking does such a crazy shit every year, hasn't missed more than 72 games, has better availability, all this stuff? Well, no. I think that would be stupid to call the NBA racist for giving him MVPs. But are we going to sit here and say that there's no sense of, there's nothing weird about the fact that Nikola Jokic handedly wins in these very close contests? I think there is something to that. I think that there's a little bit of the bias, but do I think that necessarily that is the... Do I think that is the only reason Nikola Jokic wins? No. It's not just bias. That's stupid. Just like we said, there's other reasons and tons of reasons why Nikola Jokic deserves it. And that's why we're going to bet, something related to that. So, I think we'll do we're going to move into some bets. We'll lock it in. So, there is a bet that's out for the NBA MVP, obviously. If we take a look at it right now, the lines are sitting at, you have... So I am going to take a look. It's, for some reason, I know it's obviously, it is here. I found it. Found it a little bit ago. But now they're gone. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna take a look at right here and so, like I said, I was having a hard time finding that. They should allow you to search bets on DraftKings. That would just make everything a lot easier. But you can always do it on. So, as of 2 days ago, it was Nikola Jokic sitting at minus 400 with Joel Embiid sitting at plus 550. I think that's pretty important. Oh, so was Jason Tatum sitting at plus 1800. So, it's he's not MVP. He doesn't deserve it. I think it's clear at this point. But yeah, he's fourth, still ahead of Doncic, Morant, Curry, Lillard, and Durant. Durant doesn't deserve it. Curry shouldn't. Durant shouldn't even be up there at all. Lillard doesn't deserve it. I just don't think his team's good enough. I think Doncic. Probably the same argument, but. Yeah. At minus 400, you're not really guaranteeing yourself too much. I think that So, it might not be necessarily worth the place at that level. Just like I think it's maybe not worth it to place a bet on the Celtics right now to win the championship where they're at. I think it's just they're bad money. They're too high for somebody who's on a downturn at the end of the season. It's just not a good place to take them. I thought it may be a bit earlier in the season, but it's tough. I think a lot of people who were speculating that they weren't necessarily as good as they were coming across were right. But we're gonna lock it in anyway. We'll just put the money on it just to kind of test our ability to bet on basketball. But I think that it's a pretty far and gone situation where Nikola Jokic is going to be MVP. I think if you disagree, we'll have to see. But we're going to lock that in. Alright, we got one locked in. So, let's move on to the next one. Let's see if I can add a text. Add text. Bet. Jokic. Minus 400. So we're gonna place that bet up there. Then we're gonna talk about Jan versus Marab. That's what I'm gonna call him. His name is just like wild, like a lot of those guys. But yeah, that's a tough fight. I don't want to disrespect Marab. I really have a lot of respect after kind of following up on him. I just think that I have a lot of respect for Jan as well, though. And, you know, I think that he's one of the better fighters in the division. I think that he should be at the top. And, you know, because of a couple bad breaks, he's been, you know, lower down to a separate rank, even though he, in my opinion, like I said, should be at the top. So I think that this is his fight to take it back and, you know, head back in that direction. I think Sean O'Malley's going to get fucked up in his next fight against somebody legit. Is he fighting anybody? Probably not. He likes to talk, but he got a podcast like me. I guess we're similar. Probably weighs the same as me when he's like, you know, not like cutting. Sean O'Malley. Sean. You know what? We'll talk about something else about Sean too in the meantime before we bounce over to the Jan fight. But does Sean have a fight that is coming up? Of course not. No, October 22nd, 2022, and he doesn't have to yet. I mean, it's only been 5 months, you know. He fought at the Oliveira Makhachev card. Oliveira still hasn't fought since that card. And, there is, sorry, I'm just taking a look at the bantamweight division and who is there. And, you know, I mean, I guess if you're looking around, it's just kind of a crap division. I mean, Cody Garbrandt is decent, but he's just not who he used to be. And, a lot of these other guys, it's kind of the same thing, you know, a lot of older names. I think that that's why, you know, like, a lot of people can see somebody like Sean O'Malley succeed. But let's see. I think Henry Cejudo, woo! You put him up against Sean O'Malley, he's going to tool that boy. He is going to tool him. He thinks that his kicks are going to do something. Oh, my God. Yeah, Sean O'Malley thought he won on this combo. I don't care what combo he thought he won on. Yeah, he one or two combos is not going to stop 7 takedowns and 17 minutes of control time. Like, it's... One time I'm ready to see a wrestler. That was actually a boring striking match, too, just saying. Like, it wasn't like, you know, you think, like, a striking match is exciting. Not what I would call that one. But if he can turn it around, I'll stop the hate. I'll stop the hate. Right now, the hate no one stop. So, he said that Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC would be the biggest mistake of his life. I think that if there isn't anybody who is more like under the Dana White UFC taint, it would be Sean O'Malley. And if he isn't being fed lines from the UFC, then, you know, I'm not a short white kid. Like, it's just bullshit. You know, he is a decent bantamweight fighter. who will be remembered for colorful hair and talking a lot, and in my opinion, will never be champion. So, and I have to say I like Aljamain more than I like Sean O'Malley. But what am I supposed to believe when I hear that? Or what am I supposed to think when I hear that from him? Like the dude who needs the UFC for anything and everything versus a guy who took every opportunity for himself. Like Sean, you need the UFC. Because you need the UFC. And like your career would be absolutely nowhere, and like you would be the weirdest Montana colored hair dude that ever existed. Like, just because that's your existence doesn't mean that Francis Ngannou is gonna suffer outside of the UFC because of his decisions. That is insane. Or made a huge mistakes because of his decisions. I'm sure Francis Ngannou can think back to a few more mistakes he's made. Hey, maybe if you could make it to that level, you could relate though. But hey, I can't relate to you. I'm not on your level. You're not on his. You're closer to his than I am to yours, but you definitely aren't on his, so maybe we shouldn't talk on either. Beefing with the celebrity who don't know me. So, for the next one, we're going to talk about the Stipe and Jones fight. I think that, honestly, Stipe at 270 is going to be a good bet. I think that Stipe is just, he's a beast. You know, I think that in that last fight, I didn't have him losing that badly, although he got knocked out by Francis Ngannou. I think that he still had the ability to square up and do what he had to do. I thought he got caught, and I thought it went bad on the fall for him. I thought he could have gotten back into it if it had not gone as ugly as it had. But he was successful against Daniel Cormier twice. I think that his ability to counteract wrestling from a person who's not naturally as big as him will be the biggest deciding factor. I think that Jon Jones didn't want to strike in that fight, and that's exactly why it was as short as it was. Stipe's gonna make him strike, and Stipe can strike. Stipe can hit, he can kick. I mean, he may not be as young as he was, but he can still do a lot of that stuff. So, I think that that's why I'm taking Stipe at plus 270. I took Gon at, whatever, I think at plus 3. So, I was wrong. Whatever, I can't take that back. But I have to say, I'm still not confident in Jones. I don't think that he was trying to strike, and I think that when you have to, it might turn out differently. But I at this point, I hope he wins. I think there's just a few fighters left in the division, and that he could fight, and outside of them, it's like, outside of Stipe, it's like, who really, I think that Blades is a high risk, low reward fight for him, where Blades comes in, wins against the GOAT, gets his title, and then gets to, kind of get a big payday for absolutely no reason. Same thing with Sergey Spivak and all these other guys. At least Stipe and Jones can make a big title match like Francis would have. But yeah, I think that Stipe is a good bet at this point. I'm excited to do that one, and I'm definitely putting it in soon. So we have the Stipe at plus 270. We're gonna lock that one in. Perfect. So for the fun of it, I just kind of wanted to talk about the Bruins. We don't do that too often, but I'm a fan of them. I listen to a little bit of the talk about them. I don't really watch them too much, but I wanted to put in a Stanley Cup bet on them. I think that, although they're the Bruins and they're known to choke a little bit, they're one of the best teams that hockey's ever seen, it seems like. So, looking at them as though they're the same as what they were in the past seems a bit hypocritical. Not hypocritical, it seems. It just lacks any amount of respect for who they are right now and what they're doing out there. They're putting up numbers that the greatest teams of all time have never done, so it's hard for me to take away from that. I think that, as a Boston fan, it's a fun time to put some money on them, so I'm going to take it. I think that it's not a bad play right now, so, we're just going to lock in the Bruins for the Stanley Cup winner. I want to say that the Bruins, they're looking really good with this new coach, and a lot of people were talking trash about this, and I think that I was somebody who's kind of on the other side. I can kind of understand and relate to this, but a lot of people were looking at Jake DeBrusk and other players who weren't succeeding under Bruce Cassidy and shitting on him for years, specifically last year as the coach was fired and the GM was kept, and now that everything has changed, it seems as though people have kind of flipped their script or their narrative on the situation. And I think that the idea that there's some sort of way that I think we've realized, if coaches think that they're the be all end all, you're never going to get success out of a lot of people. There's no amount of strength and hardcore work ethic that a coach can put out there that overcomes the fact that they're fat old dudes who don't get on the court, who don't put on skates, who don't have to jump, dive, or friggin' hurt their back to do what they do. And I think that, when it comes down to it, if you're somebody who talks down to, belittles, or demean or hurts the career of people who are directly doing those things, well then, yeah, the situation's not gonna work with that person. It doesn't have anything to do with them being liberal pussies. It's just the fact that this guy's overstated his worth. Like a lot of these guys do. Like Bill Belichick does. And has done for years. Dude thinks he's worth the most of any professional head coach in North America. Bullshit. Bullshit. Win without Tom Brady. I would be the most fucking expensive, worthy head coach in North America if I had Tom Brady. Okay, maybe not me, but I got a friend who's a good coach. He's coached a few high school teams. I bet he would. If you gave him, he looks like Andy Reid. You gave Andy Reid Tom Brady? That dude would be, he'd pass Tom Shula already for most winningest coach of all time. That's the thing. With Tom Brady, he's closing in on Bill Belichick. Without Tom Brady, he's friggin' he's past him. So, a lot of these old coach, all these people think that they're so tough, they're so cool, blah, blah, blah. They're stupid. They overstate their worth. The coaches most of the time mean shit. Greg Popovich. Let's look. What has he done since his players have left? Nothing. Phil Jackson meant shit to those teams. Most of these dudes mean absolutely nothing to their teams. Andy Reid. Andy Reid, even. He's a great coach. Without Patrick Mahomes, what would he be doing? You have Kyle Shanahan. Maybe he's like the coach that matters in the NFL right now. That's about it. Maybe at one point Bill Belichick was that guy. At one point. 15 years ago. Okay. Fire him. He's Bruce Cassidy. Let's Bruce Cassidy this man. So, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the QB situation that's going on. There's been some big updates, so it's been kind of awesome. You have Derek Carr obviously going to the Saints. That was a pretty big move because the Saints... Did they have Jameis Winston? I think they did, but obviously this will be a big step up for them. They still have talent, and they still have enough to win. They just didn't necessarily have that last piece that is the most important one. So, this will be a big step in the right direction for them. I don't think that he's the be all end all of a team or of the of the NFL, but he is an extremely good quarterback, or he's a good quarterback in the NFL. He's an extremely good quarterback if you compared him to normal humans. And hopefully he's able to, succeed with the team, but I don't think they're going to do anything great. I think that will be as good as, or better than, just as good as the Raiders on their best year with him. But yeah, I think that there is a lot of interest now in where Aaron Rodgers is going, whether it'll be retirement or the Jets or another team. If you look at some of my old videos, as of almost January, I was telling you guys the Jets are the place that he is going to be going. Rodgers to Jets. So I just want you to know that I told you so. And, there is a reason that I'm doing this and you're not. I'm just kidding. It just made sense that this is a team that's one plug and play piece away from being one of the top teams in the AFC or the AFC. And it's the harder conference. If you look at the two conferences, he's going to be leaving it, but he's going to have some of the better young talent in the league. And then on top of that, you're going to be in New York. You're going to have the fame. You're going to have a lot of new fans. You're going to blow up your image. And I think that he's ready for that. I think that it's going to be an accepting place for him. And, especially if he wins, it'll be one of the first times they've had an extremely good quarterback who is able to bring success to their organization. I think he at least believes he can do that. So, I think that it was just obvious that he was going to go to the Jets or the Titans, which I still think is a possibility. I haven't ruled them out. I think they're a close number 2. I just don't think they have as much that they can offer, especially with the makeup of their team and who their main key characters are. They're older. They're less to kind of bite into if you are Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, if it's money, they might be able to offer more, and I have no idea how all that works, so I'm not going to say that I do. I would say generally, whatever Aaron Rodgers wants in terms of winning and all of the other side things, though, that's just as important. So, I think that the Jets will end up becoming the key factor, or the main number 1 place to go if it's not retirement. It's retirement Jets tight end, and maybe like a dark horse for me. But yeah, I really was a hardcore believer of the Rodgers is going to the Jets thing, and ever since the darkness retreat, he hasn't made up his mind. And I think that with it kind of looking more and more like Jordan Love will be the quarterback of the Packers, I think that it just makes sense that Rodgers is on his way out, and the Jets could be the destination. Also, I want to say about Jordan Love, his card probably, I don't know how this works, but probably a good time to start investing in it. With him kind of not really being tested yet, I'm sure, it's already started to be on the increase, but as of maybe, the next few months into next year, it's probably going to take a friggin' steep hike if he actually ends up being something to watch. So hopefully there's something you guys can get out there and take advantage of. Something I want to. I've been thinking about it. It's been crossing my mind. I haven't been able to take a look at what people think about that stuff, but I'm highly interested in it. So something else I saw was that Tom Brady's talking about coming out of retirement again. Not talking about it. So somebody was talking about it and saying that don't consider it out of pocket or to believe that he's coming out of retirement. I think that's somebody who knows sources close to or knows Tom Brady directly. What are we doing? I would love to have Tom Brady back for one more season. I was sad that he ended on the note of maybe not being the of not winning in the way that I think that Tom Brady should have gone out winning. But at the end of the day, I think that if it just gets worse from there, then nobody wants to see that. But it's Tom Brady. Who knows what he's going to look like when he comes back next year, and I'm not going to bet against him and people have before. I think if he comes back on a team like the Dolphins where he has the weapons to plug and play like Tua has for years now, or he has, the ability to do what he has to do to get into a good position, regardless of if it's the Dolphins or somebody else like the 49ers. I could see him being successful. Now, if he's not, do I think that takes away from his status as the GOAT? No. I don't think. I think it's more like, Jordan at the end with the Wizards. He's still by far the greatest football player of all time. He just decided to stay a little bit longer than maybe he needed to. So, some other quarterback news I was looking at was that the Jets are looking, if the Aaron Rodgers situation doesn't work out, they're looking at quarterbacks like Geno Smith and Carson Wentz, since the Commanders dropped him a little bit ago. I think that if they take him, it's just an indictment of what the franchise is and how little they care about their fans and success. They're so close to getting to the glory land, and it's like, if you sit there and you think we're gonna do it with the quarterback, I'm sorry, Geno Smith signed a contract with the Seahawks. Two big announcements. Daniel Smith and Daniel Jones and Geno Smith both got contracts. Geno Smith signed with the Seahawks. I don't know the exact contract, but I think it's 3 years at 100 and something. It is 3 years at $75 million contract. Okay, so yeah, 3 years at $75 million. And then you have Daniel Jones, who signed a huge freaking contract and absolutely blew up the New York Giants organization for a long time to come, and NFL contracts in general for QBs. You have Lamar Jackson, who's still fighting out here to even get recognized by teams with all of his talent, even though Daniel Jones just got signed to this insane contract. So the friggin' like controversy is just insane around the money that's going out. I mean, like, Geno Smith is making $25 million a year, and Lamar Jackson's trying to pull out. Or let's see, Daniel Jones is he making 45 million or 40 million? 36 million. 40 million. Yeah, 4 years at 160 million with the signing bonus of 36 million. So essentially, you have a guy who is a mid-level at best quarterback making, the money that we used to consider like the best of the best who are making. This is just going to blow up what Lamar thinks he's worth, and, deservedly so. I'm not trying to take away from him or say that he's not worth that. If this is what the market's at, this is what he's worth. Or that's what he's worth, More, he's worth more than that. But, yeah, I think that if the Jets decide to do that, they're better off just rehabilitating Zach Wilson. These friggin' bums, just try and get your own bum to work and pay him whatever, $4 million a year on his rookie contract instead of blowing up the money for your team on some bum. Friggin' dodo birds. Friggin' Carson Wentz. Friggin' Geno Smith. Friggin', oh my god. So the other thing that I'm interested in is Garoppolo, where he'll end up, with the 49ers. Obviously, it did not look good with them and Garoppolo at the end of the year, but it kind of was still, where Garoppolo is in a good position, like with his health. It seems he's had time to rest, get his year. Like after that year, he got his health back together. Going into this year, it could be a year for him to kind of, wherever he goes, be a, dark horse candidate to have a great year. I think that, moving away from that Kyle Shanahan offense, they hated him for a reason. It obviously affected him, and he probably just didn't fit that well into the offense. If he goes into a place that treats him differently, he might have different success. If he or Aaron Rodgers or really any decent quarterback goes to the Jets, though, it will be over for the Patriots. I think that I kind of want to end it on this note. The one thing that, I think is the craziest is just that the Patriots are right now the underdog of the division and behind the Dolphins to win the division, but the Jets don't even have a quarterback. How is that possible? If they get a quarterback, they're going to blow us away, and it's not even going to be close. I mean, even Tom Brady, I think if he was still, in his prime, not his prime, but, if he was still, on this team at different points in his career, he would struggle with the amount of talent that's surrounding this team now, or on the other teams now. But just with the situation we're in, there's no way that we're going to succeed unless major changes come. And I don't think Bill O'Brien is a major change. I think that it's actually a pretty minor change in terms of where this organization was supposed to head this offseason. I think that next offseason there has to be major changes if something doesn't happen this year, because it's just sad to see that, we're so far behind these other teams in terms of skill, and the Jets are young. They're going to look good for years. Josh Allen's still young. he's going to look good for years. And the Dolphins, if they keep having this free agency interest, who's to say that they don't just live the rest of this organizational life just picking up whoever they want and dropping them like a Lakers or another organization of that nature? Like you have the Heat, they're not as good as maybe the Lakers at doing that stuff, but the same idea, picking up people and just throwing them out when you're done. Rams or stuff of that, the teams of that nature who could just have the money to spend and the landscape to be able to recruit people. It's going to take a lot for the Patriots to regain relevance in this division. I don't think they have it right now, and to fight to do that with the roster and everything else, I think it's just like you're crying tears into a bucket of water, because there's bigger problems surrounding you, and you're focused on the smallest thing that you could be focused on. But that's how it goes. I think that is the end of the episode, so we're gonna cut it off there. I appreciate you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys loved the episode, and I just want to take this moment to ask if you guys could like, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever somebody does when they like a podcast and listen to one. This will be available on YouTube. It'll be available on Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It'll be available from my Anchor page. I update my Twitter, so get interacting with me there. I update my TikTok, my YouTube with some shorts too. I have to cut down the content. So just find anywhere to interact with me. I love it. We can talk about whatever, and it gets the show rolling, gets the episodes rolling, and makes it easier to create the content. So, just like, share, comment, subscribe, and you are the best. Thank you so much, and have a great night. Thank you for listening to JakeUp
At night.